I recently used and tested around 30 different chest press machines that you might come across in commercial gyms. And in this video, I'm going to take you through the findings. We're going to rank these in tiers from kind of worst to best. But before we do that, we've got to talk through what are we looking for in a chest press? What makes a nice chest press machine? So firstly, we want a nice path of motion. And there's two aspects to this. We can look at this from side on first. And if you have a look on the screen here, you can see this one that comes from below, it kind of arcs up and over like that. And often when you've got a machine with a path like this, it doesn't really feel amazing because it's not matching the path with our arms moving in the exercise. Then you have machines with a path coming from above you, and those ones will often arc upwards, and they actually match the path that our arms moving in the exercise. So in general, those ones tend to feel a bit better than the ones that come from below. The second key point with the path of motion is the handles and how much they converge. It's nice to have some convergence on the handles to really challenge your pecs, but sometimes you might want no convergence at all. You might want to just be pushing straight out. So it's nice to have options when it comes to how much the path is converging in the exercise. We also want a nice resistance profile in the exercise, ideally starting a bit lighter and then getting a bit heavier as we get towards the short end of the range. There's one caveat to this profile though. When you have a machine with handles that converge inwards, you may want the resistance dropping off just slightly as you get towards that end point of the range. And the reason for this is that resistance is both pushing you backwards and now outwards. And it makes sense to have that easing off a little bit because it's pushing you outwards in the exercise. If you've ever used a machine where the resistance goes up considerably and the handles converge, you'll know about it. It's really hard to finish those reps off and you just end up doing partials at the bottom. So this is why you want it to drop off just a little bit on a converging chest press. And it also depends on how much it converges as well as to how much drop off you might want at that short end. The other key factors I looked at was the adjustability. How many changes can I make in the machine? That's always nice to be able to adjust it. And then the handles, are the handles thick or thin? How do they feel? And then also just the sensation in the exercise. I think that's really important that a chest press has a nice sensation, although it's not the end of the world if it doesn't. Sensation isn't always everything. All right, so let's get into the tiers. Now, I try not to be too harsh on this because I assume a group of people have sat down, they've really thought through what do we want in this machine, how we're going to design it, how we're going to make a nice profile, how we're going to make the adjustability nice. So I assume they've really worked hard on it, so I try not to be too harsh. Someone commented on one of my videos recently saying a certain machine would be better off as a boat anchor. I thought that was quite a funny one. But here are the ones that I thought they don't get me excited. No. This hammer strength decline, I've had so many attempts to get something out of this. I've played around with it so many times. It was at the World Gym I used to go to, and I just can't get anything out of it. The path of motion just feels really awkward. It's got a seatbelt to try and hold you down, which I guess is a value add there, just to lock you in a little bit. And then also with this one, the resistance goes up considerably as you get towards that short end of the range. I measured it so you can see the numbers on the screen now. And that increase in resistance along with a converging path just ain't great on a chest press. And this old Nautilus one, I don't know if you've come across this one before. It's a really strange chest press. It's got these long handles that come from behind you, as you can see there. And the weight of those handles and those arms just really ruins the machine for me. You get a little bit of up and down wobble. The handle width is actually nice. Like when you use that sagittal kind of grip for that path of motion, it actually feels quite nice. But those arms just wobble and it's just not a nice one. You can't get much out of it at all. We've got this MaxPump Dual. I actually wasn't able to use it to film this one, sorry, because the gym on that day wasn't happy with tripods being in there. So I couldn't film it, but it's a decline press and it's got this fly that goes over the top of it. We'll just talk about the decline press. It arcs downwards. The handles stay quite wide and it just doesn't give you a very good sensation at all in the exercise. It's just not a very nice decline press machine. Here's another one that takes up a ton of space in a facility. This Panatta thing. It's got a bit of adjustability on it. You can go flat, you can go incline. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it, but after playing around with it more and more, I could get a little bit out of the machine. If I had my hands closer together on the handles, it doesn't feel so bad when you go into more that lengthened position. But if you have your hands a bit wider on the handles, it'll really feel probably uncomfortable when you're at the bottom of the range. And for people with shoulder problems, that's probably not going to be ideal. And then the last one on this line is this Matrix machine, which has converging handles on it. It's got a path coming from below, which isn't ideal. The handles do feel a little bit wobbly. They don't feel great. The path of motion is okay for a decline press. Like if you set that seat in the right position and just focus on doing a decline press, it's actually not so bad. But for just a general chest press, it's not a really nice machine at all and just feels very awkward to use. The resistance profile though is actually not too bad. Because it converges, you do get a little bit of drop off at the end of the range, but it's not nice to use this machine. I don't want to have to sit on a machine and play around with it and really try and get something out of it. So this one's not ideal. Next up, we've got 4 chest press machines. All of them have poor resistance profiles on them, and all of them have converging paths on the handles. This Gymleco one here, it has a very dramatic increase in resistance for a converging chest press. I didn't measure it when I was there, but you can feel that resistance go up considerably as you get towards the short end of the range, and it's just too much dramatic increase for that converging path of motion. This one also has some strange additional handles on it that let you do kind of an underhand grip. Not a huge fan of that, and probably increases your risk of injury a little bit in the exercise as well, potentially. These 2 hammer strength ones, I measured the resistance on these. They've both got converging paths, and they both increase in resistance as you go through the range. Now you can see the numbers on the screen there. They essentially doubles as you go through the range of motion. Now, if you've ever used these, you'll know what I'm talking about. You get to a point in the exercise where you really struggle to get past halfway, but you've probably got plenty of partial reps left in the tank. I actually don't mind the path of motion on these 2 hammer strength ones. It's just that resistance profile really lets them down. Next up, we've got this Nautilus Xpload old school chest press. 2 main issues with this machine. Firstly, those handles start very wide, and that's going to be an issue for a lot of users, especially if you've got shorter arms. It's not going to be great. Then you've also got this resistance profile, which goes up considerably through the range. I had 20 kilos on it. It was 36 kilos at the start of the range. Then it went all the way up to 52 kilos at the end of the range. So pretty dramatic increase in resistance on this one. Now this next category of machines here is you can get something out of them. And what I mean by that is you may have to shove inwards on the handles. You may have to adjust the settings a little bit more and play around with them a little bit. But if you work hard enough, you can get something out of them. Now, I don't want a machine where I can just get something out of it. I want a machine that I can sit on and use and go, man, that feels awesome. That's an awesome challenge. So these ones are ones that I probably wouldn't want to purchase. I wouldn't really want to use them that often. But if they're in a gym, you can make them work for you. This Hammer Strength Life Fitness one, it's okay. It's got that path that comes from below, which isn't ideal. I think I might be a little bit biased because I've played around with this one a lot, and for me, I can make it work, but it's not something that I want to be using very often. Same thing applies to this Newtech machine. It's got all this awesome adjustability on it, which is really cool. You can play around with handle positions, etc. But that path just wasn't really very nice. And it was kind of hard to get a nice solid contraction on this one. I'm sure if I played around with it for longer, maybe I'll grow to like it, but it's not sitting in anywhere near the top tier of chest press machines for mine. When I used this Gym80 Inner chest machine, it felt okay to me. I could get a little bit of pec challenge in it. When analyzing it, I did a separate short on that if you want to check it out. But when analyzing it, you can see the actual path of the handles. It moves the opposite direction to what you actually want it moving. So you'll get a bit of pec challenge at the start of the range, but then as you go through the range, it really just turns into a tricep exercise. A lot of people I've spoken to have used the machine. They just said it was all triceps for them. I could get a bit of a pec contraction on it. It felt okay to me, but not amazing. With this Technogym machine, I personally have to set the seat quite high just to line it up properly for my joints. So that tells you right away that it's not going to fit a whole lot of people very well. I've also got to have my hands pretty close in on the handles, and I've got longish arms. So people with shorter arms, people with shorter frames, this one's probably not going to set up very well for them. I can get a decent challenge out of it because I've played around with it a few times, but it's definitely not something I'd really want to be using that often. Just taking a look at this AC Repcon machine, it's an interesting design. You can see there's a lot of changes in force angles with those levers on the side of the machine. I'm not going to analyze them in this video, I'll do that another time. But just using the machine, just the feel of it. Now, resistance goes up considerably as you get towards the short end of the range, but it doesn't converge all that much. So this one actually feels okay. I would need to play around with it a little bit more just to form a really solid opinion on it. But for the first time using it, it was okay, but nothing mind-blowing. I've put this old school Star Trac piece in this category. I used it many times at the very first gym I ever worked at. I haven't used it recently, but I've got memories of it. And it's nice that it's got that path coming from above you. That's handy. The path of movement is nice. Resistance profile, not amazing, but you can definitely get a bit out of it if you try. Next up, we've got the chest press machines that I would say are enjoyable. Anything along this line you'd use and go, yeah, not bad, I don't mind that. I've put the Nautilus Nitro in this category mostly just because the path of motion and the handles are really great. Downside of this one is the resistance profile goes up considerably as you go through the range. I've put the measurements on the screen there when I measured it so you can see that. But for a converging path, we don't want that resistance going up quite so much as what this machine offers us. If this one had a nicer resistance profile, it would certainly be up in the top tier, no doubt. This Gymleco pin-loaded incline press, much nicer than their plate-loaded version. The profile feels fairly nice. I didn't get to measure it as the gym that I was in didn't really seem too keen on me measuring the profile, but the handles converge really nicely, and you've also got that foot pedal if you want to play around with the start position on this one. So yeah, not bad. I'm not a massive fan of this prime flat plate-loaded press. It just doesn't feel as nice for me. The handles, when I check them, they don't converge as much as the incline press. So it's a bit of a downside on this one. And the other downside is just that bench height might be a bit too high for some users. Overall feels okay, path is okay, and it's nice to be able to play around with the resistance profile with those multiple loading horns. Gymleco Standing press, it's nice. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it's nice. It's got good adjustability of the handle height. It's got a nice little angled foot plate for you to push into. So yeah, not a bad piece. We've got this Atlantis one here. This is an incline press, slightly converging. Doesn't converge that much, this one. So when you use it, you might feel like your hands, they finish a little bit wider than what you might want. The version I'm using has 2 loading horns on it. So we can make that profile ease off just ever so slightly as we get towards the end of the range, which is really cool on this one. If you've only got the single loading horn, it's not going to be quite as nice, but it's still okay. It's a half decent machine. This Matrix plate-loaded flat press is actually way nicer than you might expect. This was actually at the World Gym that I used to go to, which closed down, so I can't actually film the machine for you, but I have used it many times. It's got nice thick handles on it. It's really simple, converging path, and just feels really nice on the pecs. It's a really nice sensation when you use this one, and I think it's probably underrated. It's a really simple machine, simple design, and it's highly effective. Then we've got these leverage chest press machines. There's many versions of these out there. This is just one of them. This one has 2 loading horns on it, which is really cool. We can make that resistance ease off just a little bit as we get to the short end of the range, which is really nice because the handles do converge a little bit on this one as well. So that's really cool. There's many of them out there. This is a Chinese version. I don't have the brand name for you, but if you contact a manufacturer in China and do some investigating, I'm pretty sure you can come across one of these with the multiple loading horns as well. Really nice piece, nice sensation on the pecs, this one. Now we're moving into the chest press machines that you're actually excited to use. These are ones you jump on and go, ah, yeah, that feels nice. It's really hard to separate these machines up in the top tier. I've only got one more tier to go, but anything above this line now, I'm gonna jump on and go, yeah, I'm looking forward to using this machine. This Nautilus Nitro pin-loaded incline press, I think it's underrated. I really enjoy it. I think it's got a nice path of motion on it. The handles feel good. They converge nicely. The angle's nice. Only downside is really the resistance profile, and it's not amazing, but you get a really nice sensation, those upper kind of clavicular pec fibers on this machine. Now I own this Cybex VR2 chest press. I believe the one I have though, it was produced a bit later on from the earlier VR2 models. It doesn't have that adjustability at the top where I can adjust the handle width. So I've had to modify that myself so I can change it for different users because the handles do start quite wide on this one. Cool thing with this machine is it gives you that option to converge the handles. And when you converge them, you do get a really nice sensation on the pecs. Downside of that is the resistance does increase dramatically when you decide to converge those handles in. But the sensation is amazing on that. The other benefit is you do have the choice to not converge them. So you can just push straight out, which I think is nice to have. It's nice to have options on the machine. And overall, I just think this one feels really cool. You've got 2 cams on it. So if you did want to play around with propping some things under those, you may be able to make an even nicer resistance profile on this machine. I've put this prime plate-loaded incline press here. I prefer this one to the flat press. I've personally noticed that the handles converge slightly more when I used it, which is great. Gives you a really nice sensation on those upper pec fibers. And having those multiple loading horns is awesome because you can just play around with the profile. You can make it ease off a little bit as you get to that short end of the range, which is really nice when you've got that converging path of the handles. And I put the Keiser chest press in here as well. I really enjoy this. Every time I've used it, I've gone, man, this is great, because you've got those little buttons you can push to modify resistance. Really cool if you want to do drop sets. Really nice path of motion on it. This one that I'm using doesn't converge, but I've noticed there are newer versions that do have a converging path on them, which would be really fun to use. I'm really keen to try one of those out. But imagine you went to a gym that had one of these in it, along with some of these other machines. The amount of variation you could put into your chest training would just be amazing. And you'd just be looking forward to training all the time. And the cool thing with the Keiser is that pneumatic resistance. You can decide to push fast and it's still pushing back on you, which is really cool. I've decided to put these 3 machines at the top of the tiers. Now, very hard to separate from the ones below them, but I've just gone with these 3 machines here. These are the ones I'm always really excited to use when I go and see them in a gym. First up, we've got this prime pin-loaded incline press. I've got the machine set on level 3 on this. I found level 3 gives you probably the best resistance profile of the lot. It's unlikely you'd want any other setting on this one here. It just eases off a little as you get to the short end of the range, which is really cool. Handles are nice and thick and really nice sensation on the pecs when you use this one. So I'll put this one in the top tier. Really enjoy the MedX chest press. And the thing I really love about this machine is you can decide how much convergence you want on those handles by gapping the weight stack and playing around with that. So I can make it converge a lot, or I can make it converge a little bit, or I can make it not really converge that much at all. Really nice just to have that ability to change that. It's got that path coming from above. It's just a really nice piece. One thing I noticed with this one is the resistance profile does stay fairly consistent through the range. It doesn't ease off at all as you get to the short end. So a little bit of ease off in the profile could be really cool on this one. But overall, every time you jump on this one, you're going to enjoy it. Just feels great, nice path, and really nice sensation when you get those handles converging. And then the other machine that I've always really enjoyed using is this Replica Xpload incline press from China. It's quite a high incline, so it looks like it's more of a shoulder press. But honestly, you get a really nice contraction on those clavicular pec fibers on this machine. What's cool about this is they've actually made some improvements on the original Xpload incline press. So what they have is they've got obviously the 2 loading horns there, which is cool. You can maybe modify the profile a little bit, make it drop off a little bit as you get to that short end because it's converging as well. And the other cool thing with this machine is those handles actually, they start a little bit closer together. I think on the original, they're a little bit further apart and they converge a little bit more as well. So they've made some improvements to it, which I think is really cool. And if you wanted to get one of these, you'd need to investigate through Chinese manufacturers. But I'm sure if you investigated, you'd be able to find one of these that is produced out of China. So that's it for the tiers. If you're looking at these rankings, I'd probably really only want to buy machines that are above this line here on the screen, although I'll happily use the ones on the line below. Then whilst you can get something out of the machines on this line, you don't really want to be using machines that you have to play around with to get something out of, you know? You'd rather use machines you can just jump on and they feel amazing. So I probably wouldn't be buying anything on this line, and definitely the line below I'm not really interested in using that much. Now there's probably many machines that I've used over the years that I've just forgotten about that I haven't put in these rankings. So if there's other machines that you've used that you rate highly, please let me know in the comments and I'll try and endeavor to check them out. I'm sure there's other ones I've forgotten about though here. And there's other ones that I don't have access to here in Australia that people in the US or Europe probably do have access to. So feel free to put a mention of any other ones in the comments below. And if you've got any questions or other thoughts, put them below and I'll get back to you really soon on those.